Listen! Hey everyone, Casey DeVritas here with a special segment of Nintendo Voice Chat, IGN's Nintendo podcast. I'm joined today by Brian Altano.
Hey.
Zach Ryan.
Hey.
And Bill Trinen from Nintendo of America, our very special guest, who is here to talk about Animal Crossing. He is the Senior Product Marketing Manager of Nintendo and also a professional translator who's interpreted for Shigeru Miyamoto, and he previously worked in Nintendo's game localization division. We're super excited to have you. Thank you so much for joining us to talk about Animal Crossing.
Well, thank you for having me, and I believe we're doing this because you have found a very special milestone here in the history of NBC. Isn't that right?
It is. It should be NBC 500, and we are doing a lot of special stuff out on March 20th, this Friday, which is also the launch of Animal Crossing New Horizons, so we figured we would do something special for it. So thank you so much for making that happen.
Congratulations on the milestone.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Thanks, Bill.
So guys, let's start it off. I know everyone here has been able to play a little bit of Animal Crossing New Horizons. Yeah. Mm-hmm. How long has everyone been able to play in real life time and also in-game days?
Oh, okay, let me think. In-game days, I've played 7, 8, 9 days. 9 days. Today will be day 10. In real life hours, I think I'm like over 25 hours at this point. I've been playing it pretty slow and methodically. I respect that Animal Crossing allows you to you can play for an hour and a half and feel like you've accomplished a lot and then come back to it later if you want, or finish up for the day. So yeah, I've been taking a pretty, I would say, traditional approach.
What about you, Brian?
Am I allowed to say this?
Well, Zach just said it, so.
No, but Zach didn't say like an illegal answer.
Yeah, Brian's been doing crimes.
I've been doing a little bit of time traveling.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what the official company stance is on that, Bill, but it's there. I've heard that if you admit a crime over like a video chat, it doesn't count. So we're good. So I think I'm on day 38.
Oh my goodness.
And I think I've played about 35, maybe 40 hours of the game. Probably about 3 or 4 hours a day since it came out.
Oh wow.
What about you, Bill?
No, since I got it, yeah.
Since you got it. So the way that I play, number one, I'm a traditionalist, so I don't cheat.
So that's what you feel about time traveling. It's cheating.
Yeah, it's time crimes.
Yeah, it is. Animal Crossing is there's 24 hours in a day, and just like I can't skip ahead in real life, I really can't skip ahead in Animal Crossing either.
I'm so embarrassed right now.
The way that I play is usually I'll play a bit in the morning, and then kind of exhaust whatever it is I think I need to do in the morning, and then I'll come back in the afternoon. And a lot of times you'll see, that some of the resources and things are kind of replenished after you've been away for a while. So I usually try to get like 2 play segments in over the course of a day. I don't know how many days I've played at this point, but usually if I'm putting in, somewhere between 1 and 2 hours a day, I would say I'm probably maybe approaching 30 hours at this point.
Okay.
We have access to it internally, from a testing standpoint and things like that. So I've been playing around with it for quite a while.
So I've also I've been mostly playing it slowly and not been doing time traveling, but I've actually time traveled in the past so I could get some daylight. So I've been doing some minor cheating. So not necessarily skipping ahead, but skipping backwards, because I was playing at night every day for a few days, and it's like I haven't seen any daylight, so I haven't been able to see any of the wildlife that comes around or critters that come around during the day. So I would skip back to 10 a.m. and
if I may, I would like to take this opportunity to apologize to Nintendo of America on behalf of my time criming colleagues. They in no way represent the way that I personally like to play Animal Crossing. So
I just want to say that if you go back 6 hours or you go ahead one day, you still have to go see the same judge when you go to jail. So really, it doesn't matter. We're all criminals. Gosh. You'll get there.
I do like the phrase "time crime," though. That's
Thank you.
Time crime critters. So, Bill, so in previous Animal Crossings, we were punished for time traveling or turning off our game before saving in manner of Resetti. I haven't seen Resetti in Animal Crossing New Horizons. How do I make him come back and yell? I want to be yelled at.
Well, of course, with the way that the Switch system works, there really isn't a way to reset, because even if you hit the power button, it just goes into sleep mode, and then you just resume from where you were. So he's out of a job, kind of?
No, Resetti, how could you do this?
That doesn't mean that you'll never see him, but certainly he does not have the same role that he once did. I think that's probably best for his health, though, because he did get really worked up whenever that happened.
Yeah, I was gonna say he's probably like meditating more now, and taking long walks. He's probably like doing super well.
Yeah, I hear he's hanging out at Brian's childhood home back in New York. So, I mean, wasn't he like your neighbor when you were growing up?
I grew up with like 200 people that talked and looked exactly like Mr. Resetti. Most of them lived in the sewers too.
Nice, Brian. Oh,
well, Bill's character.
Bill, what does your character look like in Animal Crossing right now?
So my character he's got kind of basically the default hairstyles. I have not customized his hair yet. But one of the things that I always do with Animal Crossing is me being an Oregon Ducks fan. I always deck my town out with yellow tulips and yellow lilies. I've got a great big yellow O kind of at the entrance to my town from the airport. And I happen to be wearing a yellow and green number 10 basketball jersey, and as well as some shorts. I'm still trying to find like a pair of high tops, because I'm trying to go for this kind of dual vibe where it's like the Oregon Ducks plus like Seattle grunge. So I really need the 10 jersey being reminiscent of Pearl Jam, and then if I can get some high tops going, I'll have it all down. And then maybe at some point I'll let my hair grow out. So,
dude, I got you covered on high tops. I spent like 50,000 bells on high tops the other day. I went into the store and got all of them in every color, and then put a bunch on my wall and put a bunch more in my storage.
Yeah, Brian's been sending me like almost daily updates of what his room and what his house looks like. And at one point, it literally just looked like a shoe shop. It was just like all these rows of shoes. I was like, oh, okay.
I'm honestly so jealous of your decorating and your town and your house. Brian, honestly, guys, I'm so bad at decorating. I don't know what to do. What is your method? Do you just collect all of the things you think you might want in the future and then decorate? Or do you only buy things will match your aesthetic that you're going for?
The secret is time crimes. No, it's the thing is that's weird about this game is that I like in real life I like to wear like leather jackets and jeans and high tops, but this game hypothetically takes place like on an island, and so I see like people walking around in shorts and stuff. Like if you look at Bill's background right now, it's like most of those guys are like they're hanging out wearing dresses, sundresses and shorts and sandals and stuff, but I'm like running around with a leather jacket, so I think I'd be hot. But no, my whole thing is symmetry and making sure that basically everything in each room has sort of like a symmetrical side to it, where there's something on each side that's kind of parallel that represents each other, and then decking it out with rare stuff. I wanted to ask you, Bill, about the HHA,
mm-hmm.
the Happy Home Academy. Now, I got a message from them yesterday saying that an item in my house was facing against the wall instead of the room, and I got dinged points for it. When did those people come into my home? What's up? Who are these people? When do they get in there?
Well, if you have other players playing on your island, you'll notice that even if they're not home, you can walk into their house. So I think it's really on you, Brian, because you failed to lock your door.
It's
like that's what they do in Canada, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so people can come in and rate their decorations and their hockey sticks.
Yep.
That's right.
No, so Casey, my technique is always just like craft a bunch of stuff, which is super fun in this game. Symmetry, and also try to make sure the wallpaper and the rug and the furniture all sort of like coexist thematically in some way. And I don't really like having those like kind of hodgepodge rooms where half the things are metal and half the things are made of straw. It just looks like a mess. I don't judge if that's what you do.
Appreciate it. I'm still using a cardboard box as a table, so I have no
Really?
opinion. Yes.
Well, I mean, we're all working from home now. We're all working from home now, so it's very similar. Zach was actually showing me his bedroom in real life and his setup now, and I was like, "That's very Animal Crossing. Like, you have like a random chair, and then, like, you're using a foam roller as a seat. Like,
perfect."
Bill, I kind of wanted to ask you more of a legacy question about Animal Crossing. I think when you look at Nintendo's pantheon of characters in games, you get a lot of like action and exploration and platforming, and Animal Crossing is so different from all the other Nintendo games. What do you think is it specifically about Animal Crossing that has garnered such attention and made it such a big hit with fans of Nintendo and like people, because like my entire Twitter timeline, gamers or not, are talking about Animal Crossing releasing tomorrow. And so like, what do you think, how do you explain that sort of universal appeal?
It's interesting. In Japan, they kind of describe Animal Crossing as being what in Japan they talk about as the slow life. It originally, it started off where you were in this little kind of town, and it was very reminiscent of sort of countryside in Japan. You're fishing, you're catching bugs, those sorts of things. And there, really, when you think about Animal Crossing, not much happens in the game in terms of events or excitement or drama. And so really, I think what people really like about Animal Crossing is the fact that it is so different. It is, in Japan, they call it slow life. Here, for us, we really talk about it as being kind of your ultimate personal escape. It's literally is the place that you can go to get away from whatever else is going on. And you can it gives you the power to create that world that is your ideal world. And like I talk about how I always go in there and I make all the characters say "Go Ducks," and I like put up the town flag with all of those icons. I can customize that town the way that I want. But obviously Brian is customizing completely differently from I am. But both of us are going to be imminently happy with the results of the work that we're doing in this town. Or on this island, and I think that that's really what it is. It's like, this is my space, and I can go in there and I can be happy in it, and I don't have to worry about anything else that's going on when I'm in this space.
I think that's really interesting. Like, so many games that I play, I consider them such a form of escapism, and like mapping out my room in Animal Crossing, building out, in New Horizons, as I started to get more stuff and like place it around that initial house that I had in just the one room. I was thinking like, oh yeah, this is looking really good. I really feel great about how this is all coming together. And then I just realized that I had just recreated my bedroom. Like, it was the exact same layout as my bedroom. And I was like, well, okay, I guess I could be a little more original here, but.
Well, there's a reason that you made your bedroom like that, right? Maybe you just think that's the best way to do it.
Yeah, it's like, that's what I gravitate towards. And I sort of unconsciously, recreated my own space. Like, yeah, I thought that was
Honestly,
that's what I love about it. It's like, it's honestly like you can start out with one room like that, and it'll be like your own house. But if I had a room in my house that was just like a bunch of shoes on the wall, like I'd probably, I don't know, I think I'd live alone. Like, everything would collapse around me. But I can do that in the game. Whereas, in real life, it's like everything has to have a sort of functionality to it. But in Animal Crossing, it can be all form. You can have a room that is just for fun, and just create a whole theme room, which you'd have to have like a mansion to be able to do that in real life.
right.
Yeah.
Honestly, the
Someday.
Animal Crossing New Horizons Nintendo Direct had me sold to abandon my life as I know it and go like live in a tent out in a tropical island. So I can't actually do that in real life, but at least we can do it in Animal Crossing.
That's
Go
right.
slowly.
And you're not relegated to a tent for forever, but it is
Yes.
a nice way to start.
You can get a multi-room house, which
Yeah.
and you can own it with a 0 interest loan, which that'll just never happen here.
Yeah, that's
Right?
100% escapism. So yeah.
It is, and in fact, I do need to point out, I do think Tom Nook gets a bad rap when you consider what he's doing for society with these 0 interest loans. Really is, as good of a raccoon as I think we've ever seen.
Yeah.
Bill,
I
can you
honestly
tell
think
us-
he's like turned things around this game a lot too. He's like he's really working hard. Like
he seems like he's on our side.
He is. He is. I respect the man.
Bill, can you tell us, where does Tom Nook get all of his money to loan to us in the first place?
Me.
From you?
No, it's, he seems like just a humble kind of independent businessman, but obviously he is the head of a major conglomerate that is able to take on new initiatives like this. So he must have streams of bells coming in through other channels as well.
Millions of Nook's crannies all over the world. Every island. Guys, what are your... Oh, were we going to say, Zach?
Go ahead, Casey.
Oh, I was just going to ask, what are your favorite changes in New Horizons compared to the previous Animal Crossing games?
Oh, wow. That's a really good question. I mean, obviously there's some subtle things. One of the most subtle, and Brian's probably noticed this, but with the way that you're able to lay out objects in the house, it used to be that you had to move it like a full square, and they've now given you smaller increments that you're able to move things, and actually kind of gives you a bit more control over how you're laying things out in your house, which for somebody who's like super into decorating the house, I think is going to be a nice addition for people. But for me, actually one of the things that I've found really nice has been the addition of Nook Miles, because sometimes, you'll get in and you'll be playing, and in past games you might do sort of the basic routine that you might have within Animal Crossing. Then you'll think, oh, okay, well, what am I going to do now? And Nook Miles has been really nice because it gives you, some little small objectives of things that you can do that you get little rewards for, and then you can turn those in, the miles in, and get some pretty cool objects that you can place around the island, or, you can enhance the hairstyles and things that you have access to. So that for me has just been, I think, one of my favorite elements. Of course,
Yeah.
the bigger one is going to end up being the degree to which you're able to customize the island outdoors, both in terms of placing the furniture outdoors as well as in terms of actually changing the terrain.
Yeah. I was also going to mention Nook Miles because I think Nook Miles highlights a sort of a bigger thing for me in the game in general, is like how all the systems feed into each other. And Nook Miles illustrates that so easily, in that like you have all these micro objectives that you're completing that add to the greater overall, like there are milestones for, catching 100 fish, catching 1,000 fish, etc. But you're constantly like filling those out through Nook Miles. And I think in that same way, like as I'm building out an orchard or clearing spaces for houses, I'm seeing other parts of my town where it's like, oh, when I finally have the ability to terraform, I'm going to knock this down, or I'm going to build something here, and like the way that all those systems interact with each other, I think is like so brilliant. And Animal Crossing has always been good at that, but in New Horizons, I think it's just a step above where it's been previously.
I'm also very happy to hear that we can move everything around the town when we want to at a later point, because I would have so much anxiety choosing where to put everything in the beginning if I knew it was permanent. So I'm very grateful for that.
Yeah, I specifically remember running from like the ocean to like Nookingtons in the GameCube version like 100 times because they were so far away. And in this game, I can sort of move them around. I don't have to worry about any of it being permanently in place. Yeah, I want to say like the Nook Miles thing. I think you guys totally nailed it. It does a really good job of getting me out of my routine and my comfort zone. Whereas like I might run into the game every day, shake some trees, go to the store, see what's available, and not really think to like hit rocks or anything like that, or like dig up stuff. And the game goes, oh, well, if you hit 5 rocks, we'll give you 200 points. And then you can go use those. And I find myself doing tons of those things every day just to stack up points. And you can even trade them in for bells and stuff like that, which is a quick, easy way to make money. And that it completely adds to what would normally just be a routine of my day to day to now being something that gets me to explore every corner of the island.
So in the way that I was thinking about it too, is like, it reminds me of some of my favorite games on mobile where you're doing like daily challenges and stuff. And I think it's really interesting because I feel like 4 or 5 years ago when I started playing mobile games more frequently, there was so much that reminded me of like, oh, this is something that they probably learned from Animal Crossing. And now I feel like Animal Crossing has learned a lot from like Pocket Camp and maybe other mobile games. Do you know if there's any sort of like in development, was that part of the discussion? Like, oh, these games, this sort of like cyclical objectives, did that come up at all? Do you know?
I wouldn't say that it came up with from the perspective of actively trying to bring in elements from the mobile into New Horizons.
Mm-hmm.
But obviously, Nogami-san and Kyogoku-san are both very involved in both Pocket Camp as well as New Horizons. And I think what they looked at really was less of trying to apply elements from the mobile version and more they're just looking at what are some of the things that we've seen that is resonating with people or elements that we particularly liked that we thought we could take and evolve in a console version of the Animal Crossing series. And those are the ones that they've picked up to bring in. And I think it's really just about always continually looking at different ways to engage with players, and even, the Nook Miles point is one where, Animal Crossing for some people was a game for a long time that, they're like, oh, well, I don't know what to do, or I don't know what my goal is. And so Nook Miles really becomes something that helps guide those players through the game. But it's still totally optional. So for people who love to play Animal Crossing the way that they always have, they'll be able to do that whether or not, regardless of whether or not they're worried about those Nook Miles goals.
What about...
Bill, I want to... you were going to say, Zach?
You go ahead.
No, Bill, I was going to ask you, I know you haven't been in localization in a while, but you're obviously very, very well versed in it. And this is a game with thousands of lines of dialogue, and a lot of it is feels sort of like specific to the language that you're speaking in. There's a lot of sort of colloquialisms and slang and stuff like that. What's the process of bringing all of that text over for a global audience? It's like, how do you translate jokes and slang and stuff like that?
So many puns. Oh my God.
Yeah.
So many puns.
Well, yeah. And on top of that, what becomes an even bigger part of the job for the localization team is that when you're looking at even just the character animations, where they'll be in the middle of dialogue and then they're reacting and you'll see them emote in some way, or their animation changes. Even within the localization process, as they're writing the text, are having to then place the animations within the context of the localized text. So it is a very, there's a lot that goes into it, both in terms of, obviously from a pun perspective, there's puns that just don't translate. And then a lot of times what you'll see is within the Japanese text, if there's a joke or a pun within the Japanese text, then what they'll do is they'll flag that, and then the translators and writers will work together to make sure that there's appropriately a pun in the English text as well. And then that'll get cascaded out across French and Spanish and all of the other languages. But there are, of course, nuances to all the different languages and all the different regions. And it's, I think, at least, when I was in localization, it was always one of the most fun projects to work on, because you do have so much leeway and so much impact in terms of how you're bringing those characters to life, both in text, but also with the use of the animations as well.
That's awesome.
Thank you so much. And I know we are kind of running out of time for this segment, but I do have one last kind of goofy question. Maybe you guys have another question after. But outside of Isabelle, Tom Nook, and KK Slider, who is the best Animal Crossing villager and or visitor?
Oh, wow. That is a tough question.
Yeah, we ask the hard-hitting questions here at IGN.
This is, yeah. And it's a difficult one for me to answer, because obviously I don't want to have any real favoritism for any one character over another. They're all like my little kids, but I would probably have to say Gulliver is probably one of my favorites. Just because I find him to be a very hilarious character, and when I help him out, he always sends me great gifts. So how could you not like him?
It's a good choice.
He's great in this game too.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, he really
his phone keeps like exploding every 5 days.
And he's got so many sailor puns.
Yeah.
I know.
Yeah.
Do we
awesome.
have time for one more question?
Yeah.
Okay.
Sure.
So I think in the way that the Switch is like such a runaway success, like there are so many more people that are coming to Nintendo now or returning to Nintendo after an absence, that I think we saw at IGN, a lot of people playing their first Zelda game, their first Mario game in maybe ever, but definitely in a very long time. People that are coming to Animal Crossing for the first time, what advice do you give them where to start? Because like it can be a little daunting, just the openness of the game.
Well, that's one of the other things that I think this game has done really well is that the opening and the beginning of the game, I feel, does a really good job of kind of easing you into both the island life, the things that you need to do, learning what you can do, so that it doesn't feel too overwhelming of you're just stepping out into this world where you don't know what to do next or you don't know what to focus on. And so that I think has been a big improvement. But overall, I mean, to me, if this is your first ever Animal Crossing game, my number one piece of advice is just sit back, relax, right? Take your time, escape from everything that's going on, and just really have fun in your own little island paradise, because that's really what it's all about. It's just about building your space and having it be the space that you love. Share it with people. I'm expecting to get requests from all of you to have me come visit your island so I can go check them out and hopefully steal some high tops from Brian.
Send out those friend codes, man. Let's do it.
But it's, it really is just don't stress about it, because this is the most stress-free game you could imagine.
Yeah.
It is zero consequences. You just never pay. You just live in your first tent the whole time. It is not, don't do that.
Fine.
But
Bill, I have one last very, very quick question. What's the best KK Slider song?
That is easy. There is only one answer to that, and that is KK Cruisin'.
Yep.
Oh, man.
We're going to have to play that
Still
right here.
haven't found it yet. There it is. It's the best.
We'll find it.
That is my favorite song, yeah.
It's the best one. I still haven't unlocked it. I've been checking every day.
No,
Yeah.
Half the reason I
so
time travel.
Looking for specific KK songs.
Yeah.
Art should be paid for. Good music should be paid for.
Should. You're
Support
right.
your local independent musicians.
You're not wrong.
That's right. And KK is possibly one of the most influential musicians in the history of music, given all the genres that he's worked in.
Definitely the most diverse. I mean, he's covered it all.
That's right.
Bill, thank you so much for joining us. Do you have any last comments about Animal Crossing New Horizons?
No, other than I just can't wait to get back to my island.
Perfect. I expect to see at least some screenshots of your island so we can throw them in so people can see them. So guys,
you
yes,
will.
Please. Okay. Thank you so much for joining us. We really appreciate it. We hope everyone at home is enjoying Animal Crossing New Horizons today, right now, because it is out. And remember, you can watch the full episode of NBC Nintendo Voice Chat every Thursday at 3 p.m. on IGN.com and YouTube and your favorite podcasting platform. Again, thank you so much for watching, and remember, this is the only place you can
Get this thing.